Night had arrived, leaving the moon to light the innocent sky. As the night grew darker, the moonlit sky quickly became saturated with alternating red and blue lights. Police yelling encapsulated the cool air, while a man, a law-offending citizen, laid helplessly surrounded by officers all impatiently waiting to lend a cruel hand. Later, the officers dragged the man to his feet, read the man his rights, and forced the man into the patrol car. Soon after, the officers jumped into the patrol car and sped with the man into the distance where the man was never seen again. Later we heard the man was booked. He was booked into a grueling and revolving prison system cycle. The U.S. prison system needs immediate regulation, rectification, and reform. Looking back, the prison system was founded upon personal revengeance. This is taking one's personal freedom as a way to pay society back for their crime. Recently, the system has transitioned into a rehabilitation facility. This is one where one goes to change themselves, correct themselves to make sure their issue never happens again. Unfortunately, this has fallen short to 5 aspects. 5 aspects we'll discuss throughout this presentation. These 5 aspects are high reoffense rates, proven racial profiling, unjust sentencing, high cost, and extreme overcrowding. To start, the high reoffense rates, the Bureau of Justice and Statistics states 5 of 6 state prisoners were rearrested within 9 years of their release. When we convert this over to a percentage format, we find that it's about 16%. So we can say we're only correcting about 16% of the prison system population. When we grade this, we got a 16%, far beyond failing. Some other questions to ask are we only 16% safe? Are towns, county, and nations only 16% safe? And are our adolescents, adults, and elders only 16% safe? I would say yes. Moving on, racial profiling. The American Civil Liberties Union put together a great study and story on this topic. The story starts out, there are 2 males, 2 races, one black, one's white. They're both stopped in a routine traffic stop and found with the same illegal substance. Now what we need to remember is that they're in the same state and held under the same laws. At this point, the black male is 3.73 more times likely to be arrested. The Sentencing Project also did study this topic. They set out to find what the averages were for black and white males to be arrested throughout their lifetime. They found that out of 3 black males, 1 of them was likely to be arrested. When we compare this to the white males, out of 17 white males, 1 of them was likely to be arrested. It's obvious black males are at a disadvantage. Moving on, unjust sentencing. In many states, they require inmates and prisoners to fulfill a minimum sentence. This is whenever they're convicted and sentenced, they're obligated to fulfill a minimum term. Currently, we have 733,000 incarcerated nonviolent criminals serving sentences due to minimum sentences. These sentences are for drug charges, public order charges, and generic charges. The juvenile system is also plagued with this issue as well. The U.S. Department of Justice states there are 15,000 children incarcerated for status and technical violations. Well, you might ask, what is a status and technical violation? According to the U.S. Department of Justice, a status and technical violation is defined as a behavior that's not a law violation for an adult, such as truancy, incredibility, and running away. High costs, on the other hand, as we know, we're about $20 trillion in national debt. It's no surprise that the U.S. prison system is a major contributor to this debt, when the federal, state, and local agencies spend a combined $80 billion on corrections. When we break this down, this is found to be $260 per U.S. resident. To put that into a personal number, that's $260 out of my pocket, your pocket, and everybody's pocket. CBS also conducted a study where they set out to find what it actually costs to incarcerate just one inmate in the U.S. They found it was about $31,307 to incarcerate a single inmate. When they looked at California, this number skyrocketed to about 50 to 60,000 per inmate. When we compare this to the median family income, we find that it's about above half. Overcrowding, on the other hand, is a compilation of all the aspects. The U.S. confines about 2.4 million people, according to the American Exchange Council. This high number forces facilities to release their terrorizing criminals back to the street. For example, in California, their correctional institutions were deemed overcrowding by the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court forced the state to release about 30,000 intemperamental criminals. When we look back, in 1971, we had about 40,000 inmates being held under drug charges. When we compare that to our now present day, 2019, we find that we have about 500,000 inmates incarcerated under these same charges. Overall, the prison system is not broken, and the system should not totally be discarded. Its intentions are on track, however, its execution is currently derailed. These issues that we discussed are all interconnected through the system's poor execution. For example, unjust sentencing overall leads to overcrowding. Overcrowding leads to high costs. High costs and overcrowding leads to prisoner cuts. These prisoner cuts lead to high reoffense rates. With some minor reform to the system, we can solve this developing national crisis. It's clear the U.S. correction system needs prompt regulation, rectification, and reform due to its sentencing, costs, overcrowding, racism, and high reoffense rates. And these complications must be attended before they develop into a national crisis.